I can see it. Streaming the truth live from where they decree it. Sylvia speaks, no filter, no buffer. Courtroom drama couldn't get any tougher.
When the gavel's first bang, to the witness turns tears. Sylvia's lens captures all your hopes and fears. Uploading justice one trial at a time. Tune in every moment, edges sublime.
Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Faces tell stories, the courtroom can't hide. Sylvia's insights cut through the divide. From jury talks to the lawyer's secret. In Sylvia's world, you know you'll need it. Behind the scenes where whispers are loud, her lens reveals the truth in the crowd. Courtroom secrets laid bare to see. Stay curious with Sylvia Spree. Every objection, every sharp retort, Sylvia's there to give you the report. Exclusive footage no one else can snag. From catchy headlines straight to the tag. Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show.
Faces tell.
Hey Serena, how are you? Serena? Hey Steve Johnson, what's up? All right, y'all, let's finish listening to this. I don't think we have much left. We already heard the main part of it. You ready to listen to it, y'all? All right, let's continue where we left off.
As a result, the hip-hop world has lost two of its most talented and revered musical artists and icons. At this point in my life, I can say that I have a deep sense of remorse for what happened to Tupac. He was a talented artist with tons of potential to impact the world. I hate that Tupac's family, friends, and fans, especially his mother, Afeni Shakur, had to go through the pain of losing her son. It's terrible losing people like that. I know that pain too well. However, I stand firm on the point that Tupac, Suge Knight, and the rest of those niggas didn't have any business putting their hands on my beloved nephew, Baby Lane, period. Them jumping on my nephew gave us the ultimate green light to do something to their ass. Tupac chose the wrong game to play and the wrong niggas to play with. Suge and them should have done a better job of protecting that dude because they knew who the fuck we were and the kind of shit we were capable of. Tupac may not have known, but Suge and his peeps definitely knew. Tupac was a guppy that got swallowed up by some ferocious sharks. He shouldn't have ever got involved in that bullshit of trying to be a thug. Southside Crips earned some stripes on the collar from street niggas due to the Tupac shooting. But it generated too much attention and put us under a microscope by law enforcement that would not cease and eventually brought us down. It was a big time loss for everybody involved. Aftermath. When we made it back to the hotel, we popped our bottles and partied like it was any other night. Of course, someone suggested that we pour out a little for Tupac, which we did, and smoked our weed like we had planned to do in the first place. Instead of being with us, C-Ray was still out partying at the MGM Hotel Club. Someone from another Crip set pulled his coat. Nigga, you better get the fuck up out of here. You ain't heard what your homeboys just did? C-Ray left the club and came over to the carriage house once he found out something went down. What happened, y'all? Nigga, we don't know nothing, I was thinking. We know you're gonna snitch, nigga. And I was right. That nigga eventually did snitch. After partying most of the night in Vegas, we left the next morning. We rode by and scooped up the Cadillac from where we had ditched it the night before. The night of the shooting, the gun was placed on one of the tires of the Cadillac. But when we went back for the car the next morning, the gun wasn't there. We jumped on the freeway and headed back home to Compton. I rolled back.
You see how he's telling everything? He told where the gun was hiding and everything, but somebody got that gun. This dude, man, he run his mouth entirely too much. They know everything now.
With my wife and nephew in the same rental car. One of the homies drove the caddy, and we were following on their tail the whole time. At one point, when we got around the rest area in Barstow, a white San Bernardino sheriff car followed us for about 10 miles before turning off. During the drive home, I laced Baby Lane with the game. Don't tell nobody what happened. Not even your mama. Don't say a motherfucking thing. Sure enough, when we made it home, the streets were spooked. Inquiring minds wanted to know, what happened to Vegas? Nothing was our only reply. Once we got back to Compton, the caddy sat for a couple of days. Then we took it to the paint shop to be painted and cleaned out before returning it to the rental car place. By then, it was too late for any forensics to be accurate and reliable. The Sunday we returned was one busy day. When we got home, we watched some of the news reports. My uncle, who was a stone-hard gangster, came over early that morning with the newspaper and some coffee. I was in my back house. He stormed in. Nephew, this nigga done told on 2 niggas at one time. Who? Man, you read this shit Suge said in this article? He read part of the article out loud. Keefe D's nephew. My uncle concluded. If that ain't dry snitching, I don't know what is. He's trying to take down 2 motherfuckers at the same time. With that first newspaper article, Suge was essentially telling on Baby Lane and me. Suge could have said my little brother's nephew, but instead he used my name, Keefe D's nephew. I've seen Suge a few times once I got out of the pen. The first time was when the Lakers were playing the New Jersey Nets, and my older brother had bought some tickets. The halfway house I was staying at permitted me to go with my brother to the game. While I was there getting hot dogs, I saw Suge with 3 or 4 white guys and 3 brothers. When the motherfucker saw me, he looked like he was scared straight. He came over to where I was. What's up, homie? I'm glad you stayed strong for me, man. All them niggas from my neighborhood, I wanted to say, you the first one, bitch. I started to hate watching MTV during that time because it seemed like every hour on the hour, MTV would report. Rapper Tupac Shakur is in critical condition. Reports indicate that Crips out of California, Keefe D's nephew. I was like, God damn, why they keep using my name? That fucked me up when some of the early reports were using my name. That information had to come from Suge, since he was the only one who could have known. That same day, my new Colombian plug, JC's little brother, called. He was usually really laid back, but this time there was urgency in his voice. Meet me at the Chevron over at El Segundo in Sepulveda, he said. When I pulled into the gas station, he walked up to my car, faster than usual, with this scared look on his face and asked, Man, was that y'all? Yeah. Come on, homie. You're supposed to be smarter than that. We have a multi-million-dollar business. You're tripping. His words of disappointment were piercing, mainly because he was right. I was tripping. I did the same dumbass shit I said Suge shouldn't have been doing. I had risen out of gangbanging and elevated to the level where I was running a multi-million-dollar business. Suge did his with the record company. I did mine illegally in the streets. Little JC continued. I'm out of here. I'm not going down with y'all. Y'all are going to jail. He was a smart dude. The next day, he was on an airplane on his way back to Colombia. At the time Little JC left, I was balling, getting 300 kilos a month from him at $10,000 a piece, selling them locally for $13,000 to $14,000, and selling them out of town for $25,000. Little JC leaving the country put me out the dope game for a while. At about 3 o'clock Monday afternoon, the action picked up when one of the leaders of the gangbanger section of our hood got shot 7 times in the stomach in front of the neighborhood liquor store. Somebody from the other side did the shooting. That first Monday afternoon shooting raised the alarm in our hood. I threw a meeting after it happened and told the youngsters to handle the young niggas from the rival neighborhood. We, the older dudes, would deal with the big motherfuckers. After that, a brutal month-long gang war broke out between our two factions. Them young niggas from our set went crazy on the Bloods. Their side lost about 6 people, and we lost 1. We had a couple of homies get wounded. Suge's hands weren't clean. He participated in beating the shit out of my nephew, so we went after Suge after the war broke out too. Suge spared his own life by not staying at his spot in the valley. Once the war broke out, he left and stayed out of town for a while. I know because we were on his bumper.
Oh, wow.
He was unaware that we were staking out his house.
Dang.
We had a little hideaway spot out in Studio City, and we were going out there every night looking for them niggas. We knew where he lived because we had people who worked with the phone company, with the DMV, and females who worked at the courthouse. So it was easy for us to get an address. Southside had homies who were Samoan, Mexican, and white. We were not just blacks. My next door neighbors were 2 white boys, gangsters that would blow the noodles out your head. We had one of the white boys dressed up in a UPS uniform, knocking at the door of Suge's studio. We gave another white boy a buzz cut and dressed him up so that he looked like a cop. If Suge had answered that door, his ass was ours. By 4 p.m., the soldiers was on my street, strapped up and ready to begin our search and destroy mission. By 4:10 p.m., Reggie Wright Sr., who was the captain of the 4 o'clock shift for the Compton Police Department, was at my house. I guess he finished his orientation with his officers real quick. Then that nigga must have jumped in his squad car and came straight over to my house. His son, Reggie Wright Jr., was the head of death row security. And with the battle that was going down in the streets of Compton, Reggie Sr. was concerned about his son's safety. He came flying down the street in a Compton police car, ran the stop sign, pulled up on the wrong side of the road, and hit the brakes. He jumped out of his car and left the door wide open. Then he started screaming, "Let me tell you something, Keefe D. If you motherfuckers kill my son, it's going to be hell to pay." I just looked at him like he was stupid. "You niggas kill my son and the gloves are coming off." "The fuck is you talking about?" "Nigga, please." He yelled back, "I'm just telling you, motherfucker." Then he jumped back in his police car and sped off. Once he left, I had to let a few of the homies know. We might have to crack some police heads. They will kill for that nigga Suge. The proof was in the pudding when Captain Wright came over with that threat. He made it clear whose side he was on. Now, both Reggie Wright Sr. and his son, Reggie Jr., have been charged with federal drug trafficking and money laundering charges. Them niggas have been dirty for years, and it finally caught up with them. About an hour later, some of Compton's dirtiest, Sergeant Reynolds and his crew, came and raided our houses. During the 92 riots, there was a Crip set that broke into an Army surplus store and took all of their guns. They sold me 2 crates of guns for $3,600 per crate. There were 90 guns in each crate. Max, Glocks, AK-47s. We put in a lot of work with those guns. My homies used them motherfuckers up, wearing people's ass out. During the raids, they took a large amount of our guns, attempting to leave us butt naked. I sent word with Zip to tell Puffy to send us some cash so we could get us some more guns. But that never happened. Luckily, Because of my Colombian connection, we had a new crate of firearms the next fucking day. The streets were hot. The third day after getting back from Vegas, a few of us met with Zip at LA Hot Wings near 3rd Street and La Brea. While we were meeting with Zip, Biggie's wife, Faith, called him. Then a little after that, Puffy called Zip and asked, "Was that us?" I didn't say a motherfucking thing. A few weeks later, C-Ray's next door neighbor got killed. The dude wasn't from Southside, but he grew up in our neighborhood. He worked as a Compton Unified School police officer and also volunteered with the Compton Police. The guy was on his way to work and to drop his daughter off at school. He put his daughter in the car, and when he walked around to get in the vehicle, a red car came around the corner. They shot him 35 times with an AK-47. That hit was meant for C-Ray, but they got the wrong person. After that failed hit, C-Ray decided to start working with the police and became a confidential informant. One day, I was over in the Jordan Downs projects chilling, and C-Ray came over and said, "Keefe D, Suge got a hit out on you, me, and Little Dog." I could hear the nervousness in his voice. "Me, you, and Little Dog? Yeah, for 100,000. Nigga, how you know that?" "I'm just telling you, dog." C-Ray pissed me off with what he said, so I told him, "Wherever you got that shit from, you tell that nigga that I'll hit Suge for free, motherfucker. Wouldn't cost a dime to hit his punk ass." Those niggas knew I wasn't any joke. I'm from the streets for real. Them niggas were with that record company shit. We were crippin' for real. We were not faking. Meanwhile, I was wondering, where did C-Ray get that information? The FBI came and raided our houses 2 days later and threw everybody in jail. Again, I just missed getting caught. The person who saved my ass this time was a man that lived in the neighborhood and collected old cooking grease from restaurants. He happened to be on his way home from work at 3 a.m. and saw loads of FBI and police setting up at the Winchell's donut shop in our neighborhood. He came and knocked on my door. "Keefe D, I don't know what the fuck is going on. There's a whole lot of police, buses, and news people at the Winchell's donut shop." "You bullshitting." I could tell from his facial expression that he was serious. "Hold on." I ran and grabbed my shit, put on some clothes, and jumped in a truck with him. He took me to the Metro rail station, and I caught the Metro rail to Watts and disappeared into the projects. I watched the shit on the news in the morning. They came and raided my house, but I got up out of there about 5 minutes before they arrived. Lucky for me, the grease man saw their asses. Otherwise, I would have been caught up in that raid. Around 7 a.m, about 1 week after Vegas, Boss Man's auntie came and knocked on my door. "My nephew wants you to be at my house at 7 o'clock tonight so he can talk to you." I went around there and talked to Boss Man, and he told me, "Man, your boy C-Ray wants me to get in contact with Big CEO." "He wants you to get in contact with Big CEO?" I repeated what I heard to make sure I had it right. "Yeah." "What that nigga doing?" "He's trying to say he ain't in that shit. He's trying to sell y'all out. I don't know what's wrong with that nigga." C-Ray was one of the guys in the van in Vegas. In fact, he was the main one in Vegas in the van acting like a bitch. That pissed me the fuck off. I guess when his neighbor got killed, that shook his boots. A few days later, my nephew and I went to IHOP for breakfast over on Alameda and Compton Boulevard. We were there eating breakfast, and the mayor of Compton, Omar Bradley, and Councilman Green came in there mad-dogging us, acting like they were tough. I said, "Man, you tripping, dude. The fuck is wrong with you? You better leave us the fuck alone." They were on Suge's team also. Then I made a crucial mistake. I threw a big meeting for our neighborhood at a park in Cerritos. All the homies showed up. I did all the talking, and the feds knew everything that I said to them because there were some informants among us. I should have never done that. That's where they got the idea that I had a leadership role within the set, which caused the feds to start following me around everywhere I went. Agent Holliday was the head of the major crime unit for the FBI Central District of LA. Holliday and his crew was on my ass from that day on. As time passed, they raided everything and everybody. They raided Southsiders and Suge's death row Mob Piru people. Right before Suge was about to go to court for violating his parole for his part in the casino beating of my nephew, I received a call from Baby Lane, who was up in our lawyer Edie Fall's office. Come up here and bring 2 guns. Edie Fall is from Gambia and made a lot of money off of our family from dealing with my nephew and me. Bring 2 guns? Yeah, come up here as soon as you can. The Reaper and I rushed up to Edie Fall's office. When we arrived and entered the office, we saw Compton Police Captain Reggie Wright Sr. and Compton Police Sergeant Reynolds sitting in the waiting area with Suge Knight. That was an incredibly uncomfortable and awkward couple of minutes while we all occupied the same small space. That was the reason Baby Lane told me to bring 2 guns, just in case. The 3 of them were there to meet with Baby Lane before Suge's probation violation hearing in an attempt to keep Suge from going to jail. They offered to pay Baby Lane $60,000 for him to appear in court and say that Suge didn't kick him in the casino. Baby Lane went to court and said that shit too and got paid the $60,000. But the judge in the case ruled that Suge was an active participant in the attack anyway. Once Baby Lane received that payment, the war between our 2 functions chilled. The thing that fucked me up was to see both a captain and a sergeant from the Compton Police Department in there with Suge. That just confirmed what we already knew. Suge had crooked-ass police on his payroll. We weren't competing against regular street niggas like us. Suge's hitmen were the police. Those niggas carried badges and guns and could pull us over and were licensed to blow our brains out. From the Compton PD, Suge had Captain Reggie Wright Sr., Reggie Wright Jr., and Sergeant Reynolds. From LAPD's scandalous Rampart Division, he had Rafael Perez and David Mack, both of whom were Suge's homeboys, blood niggas. Almost all of them have been in the newspapers for being rogue cops and connected to Suge. What most people don't know is that they were putting hits down for that nigga. Over the years, they bumped off a few of our people. I have strong reason to believe my buddy FL was one of their victims. I'm lucky to be alive. Even though the beef between our 2 factions quieted down, the funk wasn't over. Retaliation from the other side was a necessity. It was just a matter of who they were going to go after. They chose Bad Boy. An eye for an eye. The night before Biggie got killed, me and 2 of my homies, Bubble Up and Uchi, went to the House of Blues on Sunset Boulevard to see our Southside homie, Davey Wavy, who was Mac 10's manager. That night, they were having a posthumous album release party for Eazy-E, who had passed away the year before. Davey Wavy was up in the VIP section and screamed down when he saw us. Yo, Keefe D, your boy Puffy up here. We went up in the VIP section and saw Snoop Dogg, Willie McGinnis, and Little Blue. They were all from the 20s or Insanes down in Long Beach. Biggie and Puffy had come into town to promote Biggie's new album, Life After Death. Puffy came over. We greeted each other, and he said, "What's up, dog?" "Just chilling." There were too many people inside to talk, and we had a lot we needed to talk about. Puffy told me to meet him the next night at a party they were having at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Once the House of Blues party was over, my homies Bubble Up, Uchi, and I were sitting in front of the venue in a rental car, trying to get some bitches. I was sitting in the passenger seat, and Uchi was in the back. "There that nigga Puffy go right there," one of the homies observed. "Who's that he's walking with? Is that Vivica Fox?" "Yeah, that's her." If it wasn't, it must have been her identical twin. They were all walking out of the House of Blues together. I yelled out, "What's up, homie?" Puffy turned his head in our direction to see who was calling, and when he saw it was me, he strolled over to the car and came up to the window. Puffy's eyes got wide, and his heart had to be racing when he got to the car and saw all 3 of us sitting in the car with some high-powered straps in our laps. We were strapped up because our hood was at war with each other. It had gotten dangerous in our hood. 5 of the homies had already lost their lives. You could hit the corner and die. It was that thick. Baby Lane had a bullet stuck in his head and got shot with an AK between both knees during that internal neighborhood feud. It hurt me to see us going against each other like that. Puffy was unaware of all the drama that was going on in our neighborhood, so he was visibly shaken by our menacing presence. Puffy still hadn't paid us any money, so it's probable he thought the straps we were carrying was for him, but they weren't. We had them for our own protection. Puffy bent down at the car window and shared the activities they had planned for the next couple of days. Man, tomorrow afternoon we're giving a basketball game at Cal State Dominguez Hills. I already told you about the party tomorrow night we're giving at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Then we're going to have a picnic at Spelling's daddy house the following day. Y'all need to come through. When he finished, he nervously backed up out of there. He didn't pay attention to the beautiful women he walked out with. He wisely made sure to keep an extremely watchful eye on us. The next day, a few of us showed up to the basketball game at Cal State Dominguez. Puffy was up there with Missy Elliott. We ran into Corrupt and Daz Dillinger from the Dog Pound, and Snoop Dogg was also there. The only one that was acting like he was a super crip, too good to fuck with us, was Daz. When I went to federal prison, Daz made a song that had subliminal messages in it that I didn't like. As luck would have it, my boy Bubble up and ran into the nigga in Compton at one of my homies' weed spots, not long after I got out of the feds. Nigga, you know who we are? Nah, he responded. Nigga, I'm Keefe D from Southside, nigga. His eyes lit up like silver dollars. He was ready to shit his pants. What's all that shit you talking? Nigga, you a rapper. You'll get your ass beat the fuck up or hurt real bad talking shit, stupid ass. Man, I was just brainwashed by Suge. That's why I was eating. Nigga, you were eating with the wrong people, bitch. He was scared to death, shaking like Don Knotts. I could look into his eyes and tell he wasn't hard. Another case of a rapper who wasn't really about that life, claiming it like he was. After the basketball game, we arranged to meet Zip at the bar next to the rooftop pool of the Hyatt Hotel on Sunset Boulevard. When we arrived, Zip was already up there with Keyshawn Johnson, the wide receiver for the New York Jets. We met them at the hotel, got fresh, and headed out to the Peterson Museum. There was about 15 Southsiders in the party that night, having us some fun. Puffy and Biggie were both sitting on thrones and wearing black bebop hats, surrounded by buckets of bottles. They were doing it big by then. We had been in the party for about 15 minutes when my phone rang. What up? It was my people from Grape Street. What up, big dog? We down here out front trying to get in. How many you got with you? Hold up. There's 9 of us. All right, hold tight. Let me see what I can do. I told one of the bad boy bodyguards we needed 9 more tickets, but he was only able to get us 6. When the 6 dudes from Grape Street came in, one of them came over and told me, them blood niggas are out there. They deep? I asked. Not as deep as us. I decided to go back outside to see if I could get the 3 other dudes from Grape Street who were still waiting outside. When I got down there, just like the homie stated, I saw DJ Quick, Theo, the Asian on-air radio personality that used to work for the radio station The Beat, and they were out there with about 8 other blood niggas that I recognized. Somebody must have told Puffy that we were in the building because he came over to where we were and whispered, man, the FBI is in the building. They've been following me ever since I've been out here. I don't want y'all catching my heat, so stand down. There was no way I was going to talk to him about anything serious after he told me that. Puffy handed me 2 bottles of Dom P and 1 bottle of Cristal and said, y'all have a good time. As Puffy started to turn and walk away, I motioned for Puffy to come in close and I told him, y'all be careful, them blood niggas are in here. In particular, there were 2 broads from Death Row that were inside that party that should not have been in there. Their only purpose in that party was to set Puffy and Biggie up. I saw it coming, but the bad boy crew couldn't see it. Puffy told me that the FBI had been following them around, so I guess he thought they were going to be protected by them motherfuckers. After Puffy gave us the bottles, we went to one of the corners of the room and threw our own little party. Once we started burning that Cali weed, people began gravitating over to where we were. Janet Jackson, Aaliyah, all kinds of people came over to where we were because they could smell that weed. Ricky Bell from Belle Biv DeVoe followed us around the whole night like he was from Southside. We had a ball that night. Every superstar football player you can name was at that motherfucker. It was the baddest party I've ever been to in my life. And we were up in there looking fly. People couldn't look at us and tell we were Crips because we didn't dress like the stereotypical street thugs. I would buy expensive suits, crocodile shoes, all kinds of fly shit. I might fly to New York to have dinner, and on my way back to LA, stop in Cleveland to check on my money. Those black credit cards that celebrities carry, cut off after you spend too much money. I know from hanging out with Eazy-E. His shit used to cut off. Meanwhile, I would have 30 to 40,000 cash in my pockets. My shit wasn't cutting off. And I'd have 2 to 3 million sitting at home in the closet. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, our crew used to be on the Sunset Strip having a ball damn near every night for 10 years straight. Life on the Strip was popping. The club scene, the Comedy Store, the Century Club on Sunday night, Paradise on Thursday. Britney Spears and them would be up in some of them spots. I believe that if the Kardashian sisters, Kim, Courtney, and Khloe, and Paris Hilton and them were on the Sunset Strip back in the day when we were balling, them bitches would have been with us because we knew how to ball. Bitches love gangsters. In fact, they're addicted. I'm not talking about gang bangers. I'm talking about gangsters. I would drink Remy Martin XO in the daytime and Louis XIII, which back then was $1,300 a bottle, at night. I had a connect that would bring me cases of it at a discount. I remember one day my wife drunk up my Louis and put some VSOP in the bottle. You're supposed to drink Louis XIII warm. So I poured a little out and put it in the microwave for 30 seconds so it would go down nice and smooth. After I warmed it up and started drinking it with my little pinky out, she said, "Nigga, you drinking VSOP." One thing I never did get involved with was trying to supply none of them celebrities that used to be on the Strip partying. You'd go to jail quick fucking with them. That Sunset shit would get your ass hot with the feds. They'd be up in those clubs. Plus, I was bigger than that. I was selling kilos. I didn't even touch shit. I'd go do the negotiations at the breakfast table, but I never touched shit once the negotiations were done. I waited on the money to come in. You couldn't even talk to me because my crew had me protected. Before long, the fire marshals came and closed the motherfucker down because there were too many people inside. The valet started bringing people their cars. We were still standing there waiting for our vehicles, and Biggie came up first. He saw us and rolled down his window. "Man, we at the Beverly Hilton. Y'all come up there with some of that California weed, big dog." Biggie was a cool brother, and he liked smoking that California orange weed. Then Puff came up. We gave each other dap, and he said, "Don't forget, tomorrow we're giving that barbecue at Aaron Spelling's house on Doheny Drive." Biggie pulled off first, and Puff pulled off right behind him and made a right turn. About 3 or 4 minutes later, somebody came running back in our direction, screaming, "They shot Biggie! They shot Biggie!" I didn't hear any shots because we were under the parking structure. Then my boy Uchi came running back up in there. "Yo, they just smoked Biggie." "What?" "Yeah, they just killed Biggie." Fuck. Biggie was dead 10 minutes later. Officers from LAPD came and started escorting people out of there. Not long after Biggie's killing, rumors started swirling that Southside had killed Biggie. That's when Puffy began distancing himself from us. He was likely scared to death, thinking we were going to go after him next. The big squeeze. A few days after the Biggie shooting, Suge's boys, led by Sergeant Crooked Ass Reynolds, pulled my nephew Baby Lane over and said, "You motherfuckers done killed Biggie too, because they didn't pay you the money for Tupac." Reynolds had part of the story right. We hadn't been paid yet, but he was completely wrong about us killing Biggie. That was some bullshit. Why would Southside kill Biggie? We used to hang, smoke, and break bread with the nigga. The crooked cops from Compton, Suge's boys, were the ones that started the rumors and put the idea in the heads of the police higher-ups downtown that Southside was responsible for killing Biggie, to distract and deflect the heat up off of their asses, because they know their side did that shit. They were cops, but they were trying to be Bloods at the same time, moonlighting as part of Suge's hit squad. They didn't know what side of the fence they wanted to be on, so the dirty motherfuckers were playing both. It was a wickedly wise move on their part to make it look like it was me on both of them. If I was getting pressure, I could only imagine the pressure Suge and Puffy were getting. It made sense. With all of the attention on me, they wouldn't be looking at Puffy or Suge. They were like, we got to get this off of us. Let's put it all on Keefe. About a month after Biggie's killing, the police raided my house and impounded my SS Impala and alleged that it was the car used in the Biggie murder. There were reports that the vehicle used in the Biggie shooting was a dark-colored Impala, and I did have a dark-colored Impala, but I didn't even drive the thing. Every week when I would receive a shipment of kilos, I would rent another vehicle to keep the feds off of me. The night Biggie got killed, I was in a rental car. My Impala sat in my backyard. They did all kinds of forensic tests on my Impala, and it all came back clean. About 3 weeks later, the FBI raided a whole bunch of our houses and took all of our guns. Sergeant Reynolds' punk ass came to my house with the FBI and told my wife, you know, you can get a $250,000 reward for information leading to Keefe D's arrest. Before he took off, he said, tell Keefe D he can turn himself into me. Nigga, so you can blow my head off? I would never turn myself into that punk motherfucker. My problems with Sergeant Reynolds went all the way back to when I got out of Tracy in 1990. My brother had been gunned down on the streets by some Bloods. January 23rd, 1990 is when we buried him. That night, after the funeral, we went to a spot called the Red Onion to celebrate his life. Sergeant Reynolds was in the club drinking. He was a cop, so he didn't have any business in there dealing with gangsters. Reynolds had a few broads that he was buying drinks for. Then the broad that he had eyes for ended up leaving the club with Keefe D that night. I could sense the jealousy he had in his heart from that night on. It just so happened that he ended up being a player on Suge's team. Suge bought Reynolds a red Acura Legend. In fact, Suge bought all the police he had working for him red cars. I had zero trust in dealing with Compton police in general, and definitely not Sergeant Reynolds. During this chaotic period, on top of everything else that was going on, my wife's father died. So we went to Austin, Texas to bury him. Her family still had their 40 acres and a mule. They had a church on their property and everything. While the funeral was going on, my Colombian boy called me. I have the chickens ready. I arranged to have one of my lieutenants, an older gentleman named Cy, to go pick them up. I stayed in Texas for a few more days. Then on Tuesday morning, the Colombian called again. Where you at? I'm still out here in Texas. Come on home and take care of your business. All right, I'll be there tomorrow. I flew home the next day and made plans to dispatch the kilos. I was going to send my boy Feet, who was positioned in another city, 60 keys, and my brother, 75 keys. Everybody had the same instructions to let me know when the kilos arrived at their destination. I didn't have anyone reliable to deliver Feet's kilos, so he suggested, my uncle will take them. Cool. I gave Feet's uncle the 60 kilos to transport, but the nigga didn't leave immediately with them. Everybody else called back by Thursday, telling me that they had landed. I kept calling Feet, but he didn't answer. I had my boy Bubble Up pass by Feet's house, and he called to tell me, man, that mobile home is still in the driveway. We had removed the inside of the mobile home and take the kilos inside. You bullshitting. I swear, Bubble Up responded. The next evening, about 6 p.m., Feet called me. Man, they done pulled over the mobile home. Where y'all at? Central Ave and the 91 freeway. I jumped in my ride and drove by Central and the 91. As I was about to exit the freeway, I could see that Compton PD and DEA agents had the mobile home pulled over to the side of the road. Come to find out, it was Compton Police Sergeant Reynolds who had pulled over the kilos. Money wasn't an issue for me before they busted my 60 kilos. But the police were weakening us by hitting us from all sides. We were fighting against a double-edged sword. The battle with the street niggas was on and expected. But more devastating was the dirty cops we were up against. The police were taking our shit, so Puffy needed to bring the money. We were still waiting to get our paycheck. That's when I sent Puffy a few messages through people that could get to the nigga. Nigga, send us 10,000. We need guns. The police are crippling us by taking our shit. The big squeeze was on. Since the drug bust of the mobile home was on all of the news channels, the Colombian plug called me later that night. Was that us in Compton? Nah, we good. The Colombian must have had a tingly feeling because at 7 a.m. the next morning, I heard someone knocking on my back door. I looked out the peephole, and it was him. I opened the door, and before I could say anything, he asked, "That was us, huh?" "Yeah, dawg." "Damn, what are we gonna do?" We sat there and came up with a plan. We added up all the figures, how much we lost, and how much we would need to make to get it back. We figured we would need to sell 126 kilos so that neither of us would have to pay anything out of our pockets. "I'm going to get us 126 more," he said. 2 weeks went by, and the Colombian called me. "Man, I have the kilos." I went and met him for breakfast, picked up the El Camino, and called my boy C-Ray. "Man, it's going down today. Figure out a spot where we can make this happen." C-Ray had a client named George and his wife out here from Cleveland. "We can go to my cousin's house out in Corona," C-Ray suggested. "Cool, set it up." I had 2 older dudes drive the El Camino with the kilos. My cousin and this guy named Taco were in the van with the out-of-towners. We intentionally got on the 91 freeway about 5 o'clock during the height of commuter traffic hours. When we got by Cerritos, a white man pulled up and started waving at us with this big old smile on his face. The cocksucker's dick was so hard because he wanted us so bad that he blew their little operation. Otherwise, they would have had us. C-Ray and I looked at the white man, then looked at each other, and at about the same time said, "That's 5-0. We pulled off the freeway and waited about 5 minutes. We were in a hot, brand new Z28 SS Camaro. We got back on the freeway to catch up with the others. By that time, there were about 5 more cars on the freeway, just like the one the Fed was in that pulled up beside us. I couldn't lose the load because I had just lost the 60 kilos 2 weeks prior. Not being overly dramatic, but my life and my family's life was on the line. I had to do some fast thinking. We pulled up on the side of the El Camino and yelled out the window, "Don't turn your head, don't turn your head. Go home, go home." The driver of the El Camino got our message, pulled off the freeway, and went back home. I asked C-Ray, "Where's a spot in Riverside we could meet?" "That little Comfort Inn on La Sierra." We pulled up beside the van and yelled out the window to them, "Y'all go to the Comfort Inn on La Sierra. Just wait there until further notice." C-Ray and I sped off. A mile or so down the road, I pulled off to the side of the freeway, raised the hood like our car was having mechanical difficulties, and we saw about 20 cars and 3 or 4 motorcycles following the van, ready to take our asses down. They would not let that van out of their sight. I had to make sure the 126 kilos was safe, so we jumped off the freeway and went on the other side to chase down the El Camino. When we caught up with them, I told them to park the El Camino by my brother's house. C-Ray and I went on to one of our safe houses. I left the people in the van waiting for about 4 hours. As long as the kilos were safe, I was cool with that. The dudes from out of town called. "What's going on?" "Man, there's a change of plans. It ain't going down today. Y'all come on back." "Where y'all at?" "At the safe house." A few hours later, they showed up at the safe house. When they arrived, I said, "Man, we had to change plans. We're going to try it another day." C-Ray convinced me that the police on the freeway following us was from a task force that was assigned to follow ballers home from the casinos. I told George and his wife to get a room and call me once they got settled. A few hours later, George paged me. And when I looked at the number, I recognized that it was from the Holiday Inn on Vermont Avenue and 190th. I knew the number because I used to rent rooms there a lot myself. Instead of calling them back, we drove up there. When we hit the parking lot, I saw the same undercover Fed cars that were following us on the freeway parked right next to the van. I couldn't understand that for anything in the world. I didn't say anything. I just looked at C-Ray, and he had a deer in the headlights look. I asked him, "You've been up here for the last 2 weeks entertaining these niggas, taking them to the mall, clubs, eating. You done took this nigga everywhere. The feds didn't run in the room on you?" "No, dog." I just looked at him like, "Nigga, I know what's up. They had apparently gotten into some trouble with the police, but they didn't tell me. If I had gone into that hotel room, I would have probably been walking into a room with a two-way door and mirror, and they would have run in on us. I know they had gotten into some trouble and started talking to the police. That's why the white dude's dick was so hard on the freeway. We had a safe house out of town, so with all the heat that was on us, I flew out immediately and stayed there for 3 to 4 weeks. I was catching all that heat behind a jealous-ass, punk-ass cop, Sergeant Reynolds. The feds were on me so hard, I told the Colombian that I needed to take a break for 4 to 5 months. I gave him back the 126 kilos he had given me. I had 700,000 saved up, plus the profit I was going to make off of the other 240 kilos I had out on the streets. The money from the 240 kilos came back. It took me another 2 to 3 weeks to give him the 700,000, all in $100 bills. Then I took a break for 5 months. In 2007, I ran into Puffy's former stylist and Howard University roommate, D-Mac. He told me that Puffy's homeboy, Zip, got the money from Puffy that he was supposed to pay us. Allegedly, that's how Zip bought the New York nightclub he owned and started his clothing line. We'll never know, since dead men tell no tales. What I do know is we never got a dime from the nigga Puffy. Fucking around with him turned me into adversaries with Suge and the crooked cops he had on his team, which cost me severely financially. Takedown. A federal inmate from Metropolitan Detention Center. When I heard that shit, I knew something terrible had gone down. I accepted the call and heard my brother Little Dog's voice. That dude Pat Bernard set me up to get busted. The anger in his voice, unmistakable. Man, how you know? They told me. That motherfucker. Pat Bernard was a youngster I used to work with who helped me to supply the PCP I'd send to Richie Rich and Zip in New York. I met Pat Bernard one night in the early 90s. The Southside Lowrider Club was coasting down Crenshaw Boulevard with about 35 cars. We saw this youngster pulled over to the side of the road with his car hood up. We decided to stop and help him out. Once we started talking, he seemed like a pretty cool youngster, and he asked me about the business. I gave him a number to call so we could talk some more. Eventually, Pat Bernard started buying half a kilo from me on a daily basis. One day he came to buy from me while I was receiving a load of kilos from my Colombian plug. That was a big mistake because he got a chance to see my Colombian plug. That day, I decided to cut down on the number of transactions with him. I told him, keep your money, and gave him 5 kilos so he could come back and see me weekly instead of daily. Pat Bernard was a regular customer of mine for a few years until he went to Minnesota and got caught with 9 kilos of crack. To get out of his legal troubles, the nigga used every little piece of information he had. He told the Minnesota police and the FBI about my brother Little Dog, who had been on the run from the U.S. Marshals for 3.5 years. He told them about my business. He has a Colombian connection. But the most damaging thing he told law enforcement was that he knew who killed Tupac and Biggie, and the suckers bit. Soon after that, Pat Bernard started working as an informant with the major task force. Early one morning when Pat Bernard returned from Minnesota, but
good. Click that I hear sleeping. Good night, y'all. I'm sorry, I was reading. It's muted. It's over with, y'all. That was it. It's over with, so let's see. She said, wake up, Sylvia. I was downstairs, I'm sorry. You said I got the book Keefe D did not write. Yeah, he said he didn't write the book, but he signed off on it. He did say he didn't write the book, but he got paid. It is, the whole thing was crazy. But anyway, y'all, I'm about to go back down, and then I'm gonna go home and go to bed. Yeah, he's getting author credit. Yep, Bill. He's getting author credit. He said he got paid $150,000. All right, y'all. I'm about to get off this live, and I will see you guys later. Bye.
Thank you for watching the infamous Sylvia channel, where laughter and fun make up our panel. Together we build this digital spree. We appreciate you and our growing family. With mods by our side and chat flowing free in this online space. It's just you and me, we laugh until tears roll down like the rain. In this virtual world, you ease all my pains. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. We cherish the moments, the highs and lows, from the latest gossip to stories untold. You're more than a viewer, you're part of the crew in this space of ours. It's all because of you. This digital world where emotion is shared, every post and reaction showing we care. The love is real in this virtual domain. With every sign, enjoys what we'll gain. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mars and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. This digital world where emotion is shared, every post and reaction showing we care. The love is real in this virtual domain. With every sign, enjoys what we'll gain. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mars and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night.